For years, business software has had a simple kind of power. If the company needed the work done, people had to go into the app. Sales lived in the CRM, HR lived in the employee system, finance lived in the dashboard, support lived in the ticketing tool, projects lived in the project board. The software mattered because the work was trapped inside it.
And that shaped the entire SaaS economy. They sold access, workflow, collaboration, reporting, approvals, integrations, habits, and switching costs. The user entered the application, moved through the process, created the record, and returned again the next day. Over time, the screen became more than a surface. It became part of the business process itself.
That was the old Moat. Get people into the app, make the app part of the daily rhythm, and eventually the software feels almost impossible to remove.
But AI agents put pressure on that assumption. If an agent can update the CRM, summarize the customer account, generate the follow-up email, check the support history, pull finance data, and schedule the next step, then the user may not need to navigate the software in the same way. The app does not disappear, but its visible interface becomes less central.
That's where the market starts getting nervous. Not because software suddenly stops mattering, but because investors start asking what the software actually owns.
The market is not saying software has no future. It is asking whether every software company still deserves the same kind of premium. Did the company own the customer data, the workflow history, the permissions, the audit trail, the integration layer, the business logic? Or did it mostly own the place where humans clicked because there was no easier way to get the work done?
That's why SaaS is dead feels too crude. It sounds dramatic, but it misses the actual sorting that is happening.
The better frame is repricing. AI is not killing software evenly. It is separating software value into layers. Some layers become more exposed: manual navigation, repetitive workflows, static dashboards, low differentiation reports, and tools that mainly organize clicks. Other layers may become more important: trusted data, permissions, workflow state, compliance, auditability, implementation depth, and enterprise distribution.
So the question changes. It's no longer just how many people use the software. It becomes, would this software still matter if people opened it less often?
That question is now showing up in public markets. Salesforce has become the clearest symbol because it sits at the center of the old and new software story. It is still a massive enterprise company with deep customer relationships, CRM data, sales workflows, service history, and implementation depth. But Reuters reported that even after Salesforce beat first quarter revenue and profit expectations, its next quarter revenue forecast disappointed investors amid fears that tools from companies like OpenAI and Anthropic could disrupt demand for traditional software products. That is the software repricing in public view.
Strong business, real customers, real revenue. But the market still wants to know whether the AI story protects the old moat or changes it.
And Salesforce is not alone. The anxiety has spread across software because the same question can be asked of many categories. If AI can sit above the application, coordinate across systems and perform parts of the workflow, then every software company has to prove what remains defensible underneath the interface. The interface may still matter, but it may no longer be enough.
At the same time, this isn't some overnight wipeout. Agents aren't magically running every enterprise workflow already.
Right. Agentic AI is serious, but still early. McKinsey's 2025 State of AI survey found that 23% of respondents said their organizations were scaling an agentic AI system somewhere in the enterprise, while another 39% were experimenting. That is enough adoption to matter, but not enough to pretend the transition is finished. Enterprise software is messy, data is fragmented, permissions are complicated, processes are customized, risk controls matter, integration takes time.
So the pressure is real, but the friction is real as well.
That balance is essential. Gartner has warned that more than 40% of agentic AI projects may be cancelled by the end of 2027 because of escalating costs, unclear business value, or inadequate risk controls. That does not mean agents are irrelevant. It means enterprise adoption will reward software that makes agents safer, more useful, more observable, and more accountable. In other words, the winners may not be the companies with the prettiest screens. They may be the companies whose systems agents need in order to act reliably.
That makes the whole thing feel less like a software funeral and more like a market test.
The test is not whether software disappears. The test is whether the software owns something AI still needs. Does it own durable data? Does it control a meaningful workflow? Does it know the state of the business? Does it manage permissions? Does it create an audit trail? Does it carry trust inside the enterprise? Does it reduce risk, increase revenue, or make actions safer? If the answer is yes, the software may become more important. If the answer is no, the software may be repriced.
And that is the uncomfortable question for founders, operators, investors, and buyers. Is this software essential, or was it just where the clicks happened?
That is the heart of the episode. AI threatens software as a place humans click, but it may strengthen software as a place businesses store truth. The next software moat is not the screen, it is the trusted context behind the screen.
So today on Toronto Talks, the software repricing.
And the question now facing the software economy, when AI sits above the app and the screen is no longer the moat, what still makes software worth paying for?
Think about how many business tools people use every day. Not because they love the interface, but because the work is trapped there. The CRM, the HR system, the ticketing tool, the finance dashboard, the project board. You open the app because that is where the workflow lives.
And for a long time, that gave software enormous power. The interface was not just decoration, it was the route into the work. If a salesperson wanted to update a pipeline, they entered the CRM. If an HR manager wanted to process an employee change, they moved through the HR system. If an IT team wanted to resolve a support request, they lived inside the ticketing platform. The application became the destination because the workflow required the user to be there.
But agents start to loosen that trap. The work may still pass through the software, but the person does not necessarily have to click through every step themselves.
Exactly. That is the mechanism underneath the repricing. In a click-based world, software value was partly protected by navigation. Users had to move through the screen to get the work done. In an agentic world, the user increasingly describes intent and the system executes across tools. The software does not vanish, but its role changes. It becomes less like the place where every human action happens and more like infrastructure that an agent may call, update, query, or coordinate behind the scenes.
All right, Sophie, let's make that a little more concrete. What actually changes when someone can just ask AI to do the work instead of opening the app and clicking around?
The biggest change is that the user's relationship to the software becomes less direct. In the old model, the human was the operator. The person opened the CRM, searched the account, read the notes, updated the stage, wrote the follow-up, logged the activity, and created the next task. In the agentic model, the person might say, summarize this account, identify the renewal risk, draft the follow-up, update the CRM, and schedule the next step. The agent may still rely on the CRM. In fact, it probably does, but the visible interface is no longer where the user spends most of their time. The CRM becomes more valuable as customer context than as a screen someone manually inhabits.
Right. That's essentially the shift. The CRM might still matter, maybe even more, but the sales rep might not be living inside it the same way.
Yes, and that distinction matters. The argument is not that business applications disappear, it is that the human-facing surface becomes less central to the workflow. The software still matters if it contains trusted data, permissions, workflow history, and customer context. But if its main value was forcing the user through a series of manual steps, then AI creates pressure. The user no longer wants to navigate software. The user wants the work completed, explained, updated, and recorded.
Yeah, that makes sense. And honestly, when you put it that way, a lot of software starts to feel like a middle layer. Like, I don't want to use the tool, I want the thing done.
That is exactly why the interface comes under pressure. Many users never loved the interface. They accepted it because it was the necessary path to the outcome. The form, the dashboard, the drop-down, the status field, the approval queue. Those were the terms of participation. AI changes that because natural language gives users a different way to express intent. Instead of learning the software's structure, the user asks for the outcome. That does not remove the need for structure. It changes where that structure lives. It moves more of the burden from the human-facing screen into the underlying system.
So this is where seat-based pricing starts to get weird. If AI is doing more of the work, charging mainly by human seats starts to make less sense, right?
Exactly. Seat-based pricing made sense in a world where humans were the primary operators. If every user needed access to the application to perform work, then charging per user was intuitive. But if agents perform more of the workflow, the pricing question becomes more complicated. Are customers paying for seats, for actions, for conversations, for automated workflows, for outcomes? Salesforce's Agentforce pricing is an early signal of this shift. The company has introduced flex credits tied to agent actions, with each action metered individually. That does not mean seat pricing disappears overnight, but it shows that software monetization is moving toward usage, execution, and value delivered, not only human access.
Yeah, I mean, if a lot of the work is being done by agents, the customer is going to ask, what exactly am I paying for? Like, not in a hostile way, but just practically.
Right. And that question may become central to enterprise software buying. If a company pays for software because people use it every day, then lower human usage could weaken the perceived value. But if the software is the system that agents depend on to act safely and accurately, then the value may shift rather than disappear. The vendor may need to prove that its software enables trusted execution, that it supplies clean data, permissions, audit trails, workflow state, and integration. In other words, software companies may need to price closer to the work being done and the risk being managed.
Got it. So the interface gets weaker as the moat, but the underlying system can still be valuable.
The interface becomes less like the moat itself and more like one layer of the product. Users will still need screens. They will need places to review, approve, investigate, correct, visualize, and handle exceptions. But they may not need to perform every routine action manually through the screen. That means interfaces do not disappear. They become more supervisory, more exception-driven, more like command centers than daily manual workplaces.
Yeah, that's helpful because it avoids the cartoon version where every app just disappears. It's more like the app changes jobs, right?
The app definitely changes jobs. In the old model, the application was often the workplace. In the new model, it may become the control surface. The user comes in to supervise the system, approve sensitive actions, inspect anomalies, manage exceptions, and understand what happened. The routine movement of information may increasingly happen through agents. That is a different role for software, and different roles deserve different valuations.
So where exactly does Microsoft fit into all this? Because they seem to be pushing the agent idea really hard, but also they own a lot of the software underneath.
Microsoft is important because it shows how incumbents are trying to avoid being disintermediated by agents. The company's 2025 Work Trend Index describes agents as digital labor that can help expand workforce capacity, and it talks about human agent teams as a new operating model. That matters because if agents become work-performing resources, then Microsoft is not just selling applications. It is trying to make its ecosystem the place where those agents operate, are managed, and are governed. That is a very different strategy from simply adding a chatbot to an existing product.
So basically, Microsoft isn't saying, please keep clicking our apps the old way. I guess they figured if agents are coming, we want them running through our world, right?
Exactly. And that points to the next phase of software competition. The battle may not only be over which app the user opens, it may be over which platform agents depend on, which identity system controls access, which data layer provides context, which workflow engine records state, which governance layer tracks what agents do, which platform makes agents safe enough for enterprise use. Once agents sit above the interface, the deeper infrastructure becomes more strategic.
Okay, so the simple version is the screen matters less, but the plumbing matters more.
That is a strong way to put it. The screen matters less as the daily destination. The plumbing matters more as the trusted execution layer, and that is why the old SaaS value stack has to be separated. Some parts are exposed, some parts are durable, some parts may become even more valuable. The interface is no longer enough by itself. The software has to prove what it owns beneath the screen.
So this is the real mechanism. AI agents don't have to destroy software to change its value. They just have to change how people reach the work.
And once that happens, the old software bundle starts to come apart. Screens, seats, workflows, dashboards, data, permissions, audit trails, integrations, and outcomes were all sold together. But AI reprices each layer differently. The interface may become less defensible. The system of record may become more important. The dashboard may become less central. The audit trail may become essential. And that takes us to the next question. What was software really selling in the first place?
High-interest debt can feel like a trap. With Volo, you can break free. Just choose how much you need. Set the terms that work for you. Share your story. And send the request to people you trust. Your network sees it instantly, and you're on your way. Borrow with confidence at fair rates from people who believe in you. Join the waitlist today at voloapp.ca.
SaaS was never just software. It was a bundle. Companies were paying for access, workflow, dashboards, collaboration, data capture, compliance, integrations, switching costs, all wrapped together in one product.
And that bundling is what made the old SaaS model so powerful. A company did not only buy a screen, it bought a way of organizing work. The application became the place where users entered information, followed process, created records, collaborated with teams, reviewed status, produced reports, and handed work from one person to another. The value was not only the code, it was the routine, it was the habit, it was the operating discipline that formed around the software.
But AI starts pulling that bundle apart. It makes you ask which parts were actually durable and which parts were only valuable because people had no easier way to get through the work.
That's why SaaS is dead is the wrong frame. SaaS is not dying because SaaS is not one thing. Some parts of the SaaS bundle are very exposed to AI. Manual navigation is exposed. Repetitive form filling is exposed. Basic reporting is exposed. Thin workflow wrappers are exposed. Software that mainly organizes clicks is exposed. But other parts may become more valuable in an AI agent world. Systems of record, data integrity, permissions, compliance, audit trails, workflow state, implementation depth, and enterprise trust. AI does not treat all software value equally. It separates the visible surface from the durable foundation.
Alright, Sophie, let's get into it. When you say SaaS was a bundle, what were companies actually paying for?
They were paying for several layers at once. The first layer was seat access, the right for a human user to enter the software environment. That made sense when the human was the main operator. If every salesperson, recruiter, analyst, manager, or support rep needed to work inside the app, then the seat became the unit of value. The second layer was workflow ownership. The software did not just store information, it shaped how work moved. It told users what fields had to be filled, what stage came next, who needed to approve, which ticket had to be routed, which task was overdue, and what counted as complete. That workflow control was a major part of SaaS value. The third layer was dashboards and reporting. Software helped companies see what was happening: sales pipeline, support volume, employee data, project progress, finance metrics, campaign performance. But in an AI world, a static dashboard is no longer the only way to get an answer. A manager may not want to open a reporting page and interpret 5 charts. They may just ask, what changed this week? What should I worry about? Which accounts are at risk? That weakens dashboards that simply repackage information, but it strengthens systems that can provide trustworthy underlying data. Then there is collaboration. A lot of SaaS became the shared workspace: project boards, documents, tickets, tasks, comments, internal wikis. These became the memory of the team. AI can summarize, route, synthesize, and generate from that material, which may reduce the need for some human-facing surfaces. But it can also increase the value of the underlying history, because agents need context to be useful. And finally, there are the deeper layers: data capture, compliance, auditability, integrations, and implementation depth. These are less flashy, but they may be more durable. The software that knows the customer record, the employee record, the ticket history, the contract terms, the approval path, the permission structure, and the business rules may become harder to replace, not easier, because AI agents need reliable places to stand.
Got it. That actually makes the whole category feel a lot less obvious, because 2 tools can both be called SaaS, but one is basically a screen people click through, and another is where the company keeps the records, approvals, rules, and history the business runs on, right?
That is the distinction. A system of engagement and a system of record may both look like business software, but they are not equally durable. A system of engagement is where users interact, collaborate, navigate, and complete tasks. A system of record is where the trusted operational truth lives. In the agent era, systems of engagement may be pressured because agents can mediate more of the interaction. But systems of record may become more important because agents still need accurate, permissioned, governed data. Salesforce is a good example of that tension. The CRM interface is exposed because sales workflows are heavy with manual updates, fields, notes, tasks, and reports. But Salesforce also owns customer context, account history, service records, pipeline data, enterprise relationships, and deep implementation inside companies. That is why the company can be vulnerable and durable at the same time. Investors may worry that AI agents reduce the need to live inside the CRM interface, but agents still need trusted customer data if they're going to act safely. You can apply the same logic to other categories. Workday may be exposed where routine HR and finance workflows become easier to automate, but it remains durable where payroll, employee records, compliance, and financial truth matter. ServiceNow may be exposed where manual ticket routing becomes automated, but durable where workflow execution, governance, and enterprise process control matter. Atlassian may be exposed where AI summarizes tasks or generates project updates, but durable where project history, team knowledge, and work context live. Adobe may be exposed where generative AI commoditizes first-pass creative production, but durable where professional workflow, brand governance, licensing, and enterprise creative systems matter. So the question is not whether AI threatens software. It does. The question is which layer of the software it threatens. If the value is mostly the user surface, the pressure is high. If the value is trusted context, process depth, governance, and execution, the story is more complicated.
So the same AI agent that makes one app feel less necessary could make another system more important because it needs that system's data or rules to actually do anything useful.
Exactly. That is why agentic AI does not automatically destroy incumbents. In simple demos, an AI agent looks like it can do almost anything. But enterprise reality is different. The agent needs clean data. It needs permissions. It needs to know what it is allowed to change. It needs to understand workflow state. It needs to leave a record of what happened. It needs to operate inside legal, security, procurement, compliance, and audit requirements. That is why McKinsey's adoption data matters. The fact that many organizations are experimenting with agents while fewer are scaling them tells us that the concept is real, but enterprise deployment is hard, and Gartner's warning points in the same direction. If many agentic AI projects are at risk of cancellation because of cost, unclear value, or inadequate risk controls, that does not weaken the software repricing thesis, it sharpens it. It suggests that the value may concentrate in software that can make agentic work practical, controlled, auditable, and safe. The demo layer is not enough. The enterprise needs the operational layer. That is why integrations matter. Software that is deeply connected into the rest of the stack may be harder to displace because agents need safe pathways across tools. Implementation depth matters too. A generic agent may understand language, but it does not automatically understand how a specific company approves a discount, escalates a support issue, defines renewal risk, manages compliance, or closes the books. The messy reality of how the business works is often embedded in the software configuration, the data model, the workflow logic, and the institutional habits around the tool.
I think that's the part that founders and buyers really need to sit with. It's not enough to say we have software. The real question is, which layer of value do we actually own?
And that question is going to become more important as software budgets come under pressure. Buyers will ask whether a product owns durable data, controls a workflow that matters, provides auditability, carries proprietary context, or manages risk. Founders will have to ask whether their moat is the screen or the system underneath it. If the product mainly helps users click through a process that an agent can now complete faster, the business is exposed. But if the product owns the context agents need in order to act correctly, it may become part of the new software foundation. So the old SaaS bundle has to be unbundled. Seats are not the same as outcomes. Dashboards are not the same as truth. Workflows are not the same as workflow control. Collaboration surfaces are not the same as institutional memory. And software usage is not the same as software necessity. AI makes those distinctions harder to ignore.
So SaaS is not really one category. It's a stack of different value layers. And AI is now repricing each one differently.
That is the clean takeaway. The interface may become less defensible. Manual workflow may become less valuable. Static reporting may become less central. But data integrity, permissions, workflow state, auditability, integrations, implementation depth, and enterprise trust may become more important. The durable value concentrates underneath the screen, in the places where the business stores truth and where agents need control. And that takes us directly into the next question. If the interface is no longer the moat, where does the moat move?
Your money can do more than sit in a savings account. Browse real requests from your trusted network. See the repayment plan and the return. Fund it in seconds and start earning passive income. Lend with purpose. Put your money to work, right where it matters. Join the waitlist today at voloapp.ca.
So if the interface is becoming less defensible, then the moat has to move somewhere else. It can't just simply be the screen anymore.
The moat moves underneath the interface. It moves into the parts of software that agents need in order to act safely. Data, permissions, workflow state, business logic, auditability, governance, implementation depth, and trust. In the old model, the most valuable software was often the software users opened every day. In the agentic era, the most valuable software may be the software users open less often because the agent is operating on top of it. The user may not see it as much, but the business depends on it more.
That's a really important shift. The app might become less visible to the person, but more important to the company.
And that is why the software repricing story cuts both ways. AI weakens software that depends mainly on human navigation, but it can strengthen software that owns trusted operational context. An AI agent cannot safely update a customer record if the customer data is unreliable. It cannot approve a refund if it does not understand permissions. It cannot close a ticket if it does not know what has already happened. It cannot act inside finance, HR, legal, or procurement without traceability. And it cannot be trusted in an enterprise if no one can see what it did, why it did it, and who authorized it.
All right, Sophie, let's dig into that. What actually becomes more valuable when AI agents need trusted systems underneath them?
The first thing that becomes more valuable is the system of record. That is the place where the business keeps the information it treats as true. Customers, employees, contracts, invoices, tickets, cases, assets, projects, approvals, policies, and transactions. Agents can generate language and recommend action, but they still need reliable ground to stand on. If the underlying record is wrong, stale, duplicated, or poorly governed, the agent becomes dangerous. It may act confidently on bad information, so the system that maintains trustworthy enterprise data can become more important, not less. The second layer is permissions and identity. In a human-operated system, permissions already matter, but in an agent-operated environment, they become even more important because the agent may act faster, across more tools, and with less direct human friction. Who is the agent acting for? What can it see? What can it change? Can it approve something or only recommend it? Can it read sensitive employee data? Can it access customer contracts? Can it trigger financial actions? An agent without permissions is useless. An agent with the wrong permissions is a risk. The third layer is workflow state. Agents need to know where the work actually stands, what has already happened, what is pending, what is blocked, who owns the next step, what was approved, what still needs review. That state often lives inside enterprise software. It is not glamorous, but it is essential. A generic AI model may understand language, but enterprise work depends on current, permissioned, context-specific state. Then there is auditability. The more agents act, the more companies need records of action. What did the agent do? What data did it use? What instruction did it follow? What policy applied? What human approved the final step? This becomes critical in regulated environments and large organizations where accountability matters. It is not enough for AI to produce an answer. The enterprise needs to know how that answer became action. And finally, there is implementation depth. Every large company has its own messy operating reality, its own approval paths, exception rules, customer definitions, renewal logic, escalation patterns, discount policies, compliance constraints, and political workarounds. That reality is often embedded inside the software configuration, integrations, and workflows. The deeper the software reflects how the company actually works, the harder it is for a generic agent to replace it.
Yeah, that all makes sense. The model can be smart, but if it doesn't know the company's rules, permissions, and messy internal process, it still can't safely do much, right?
That is exactly the point. Intelligence is not the same as authority. A model may be capable of reasoning over a task, but enterprise action requires control. It requires knowing who is allowed to do what, which data is reliable, which step comes next, what has to be logged, and what happens if something goes wrong. That is why Microsoft's Agent 365 is such an important signal. Microsoft is not treating agents as casual chatbots. It is positioning them as enterprise resources that need centralized governance, security, and observability. Its materials describe Agent 365 as a control plane for agents, with telemetry, dashboards, alerts, and unified observability across an organization's agent fleet. That matters strategically because Microsoft does not just want to sell agents, it wants to govern the agents. It wants the identity layer, the document context, the communication history, the security controls, the compliance layer, and the management plane. If agents become digital labor inside the enterprise, then someone has to manage that labor. Someone has to know which agents exist, what they can access, what they are doing, and whether they are creating risk. That management layer becomes a software moat. ServiceNow is moving in a similar direction from a workflow native position. Its AI agent orchestrator coordinates teams of agents around business objectives, while AI Control Tower is positioned around discovering agents, governing risk, enforcing compliance, monitoring runtime performance, and connecting AI governance back to workflows and the configuration management database. That tells us where enterprise software value may go, not just into creating agents, but into orchestrating, controlling, and proving that they are operating safely.
So I guess the moat isn't just we have AI. Everybody's going to say that. The moat is whether the software controls the environment that the AI has to operate inside, right?
That distinction is going to matter enormously. Adding AI features is not the same as owning the AI-era software moat. A thin product can add a chatbot, a workflow app can add summaries, a dashboard can add natural language questions. Those features may be useful, but they are not automatically defensible. The deeper question is whether the software owns something the agent cannot easily get elsewhere. Proprietary context, trusted records, workflow state, permissions, audit trails, compliance logic, or distribution inside the enterprise. That is why incumbents are not automatically dead. In fact, some may be strengthened if they control the layers agents need. Salesforce's defense is not that every salesperson will always love opening the CRM interface. Its defense is that agents still need trusted customer context. Workday's defense is not that every HR user wants to click through forms forever. Its defense is that payroll with employee data, finance records, and compliance structures are extremely hard to casually replace. ServiceNow's defense is not that ticketing screens are sacred. Its defense is that enterprise workflows need orchestration, governance, and execution control. Microsoft's defense is not that users will always work through the same screens. Its defense is that identity, documents, communications, security, and management are already deeply embedded across the enterprise. This does not mean incumbents are safe forever. They can still move too slowly, they can still overcharge for weak interfaces, they can still lose workflows to AI-native challenges. But enterprise replacement is not just a product problem. It is a trust, procurement, integration, compliance, migration, support, data, and risk problem. That makes disruption uneven.
Right, so even if an AI-native startup builds a cleaner experience, it still has to win trust, migration, security, integrations, and all the boring stuff that actually matters inside a big company.
Exactly. And the boring stuff may become the moat. That is one of the ironies of this transition. AI makes the interface feel more fluid, more conversational, and more flexible. But underneath that fluid experience, enterprises may need even more structure, more control, more identity governance, more policy enforcement, more records of action, more confidence in data quality, more clarity around what agents are allowed to do. The visible layer becomes smoother, but the invisible layer has to become stronger. That is why the software agent era may not reduce software value so much as relocate it. The value moves from the screen to the context layer, from manual workflow to trusted execution, from static dashboards to live operational state, from human navigation to permissioned action, from how many people open this app to what does this software make safe, reliable, and possible.
So the new moat is data, context, and control, not the screen itself.
That is the thesis. The software that survives will not simply be the software with the nicest interface or the most AI features. It will be the software agents need in order to act correctly. The software that knows the business, protects the permissions, records the action, governs the workflow, and gives the enterprise confidence that intelligence is not just producing answers, but acting safely. The moat moves from where the user clicks to where the business stores truth and controls execution.
And that sets up the final question. If software is being repriced, what actually survives?
Exactly. SaaS is not dead, but the old assumptions are no longer safe. The next software market will reward necessary systems and punish interface dependency. The final question is not which products add AI fastest. It is which products still matter when AI becomes the way work gets done.
With Volo, lending and borrowing is effortless. No spreadsheets. No awkward follow-ups. Volo automates everything, from repayments to reminders, so your lending feels effortless. Every payment is tracked, updated, and secured, with encryption protecting every transaction. Automate with peace of mind. Volo protects what matters, so you can focus on what's next. Join the waitlist today at voloapp.ca.
So the answer is not that SaaS is dead. That's too easy. And honestly, it's probably wrong. Companies are not going to stop needing software. They still need records, workflows, approvals, security, reporting, customer history, employee data, financial controls, and all the boring infrastructure that keeps a business running. But the reason they pay for software is changing. If AI can sit above the app and do more of the work, then software has to justify itself differently. It can't just be the place where people click. It has to be the place where something important is stored, controlled, proven, or made safer.
Exactly. Software is not disappearing, but the old assumptions around software value are no longer safe. In the last era, software could win by becoming the place where people worked. If the team lived in the app had power. If the workflow passed through the dashboard had value. If every employee needed a seat to perform their part of the process, seat-based pricing made sense. But when agents can perform more of the work across applications, the seat becomes less obvious as the unit of value. The dashboard becomes less central as the place where answers are found. The interface becomes less defensible as the place where every action has to happen. That does not mean those things vanish. It means they lose automatic pricing power. The software that survives will be the software that owns something durable, trusted data, workflow depth, permissions, auditability, implementation, distribution, enterprise trust, or measurable outcomes. It struggles when it only owns clicks. And that is the sorting process now underway. The old question was, can we get people into the app? The new question is, what does this software know, control, or prove that an agent cannot easily replace?
That's the test founders and buyers probably need to take seriously. If nobody had to open this product every day, would it still matter?
That is the cleanest test. For buyers, the question is no longer only whether a tool is used, it is whether the tool remains necessary when AI enters the workflow. Does it own durable data? Does it control a workflow that matters? Does it make AI safer or more useful? Does it provide auditability? Does it reduce cost, increase revenue, or manage risk? Does it contain context a generic agent lacks? For founders and operators, the questions become even sharper. Is our moat the screen or the system underneath it? Are we a destination app or an execution layer? What proprietary context do we own? What would an AI agent need from us? If our interface became less central, what would still be defensible? That is why pricing starts to change. Per-seat pricing will not disappear overnight, but it comes under pressure when the seat no longer maps cleanly to value. Salesforce's Agentforce pricing is an early signal here because flex credits are tied to agent actions rather than only traditional human access. The broader shift is not that every company adopts the same pricing model. It is that pricing starts to follow the work being done, the risk being managed, or the outcome being delivered.
And to be fair, some AI native startups will absolutely come after this. But big company software is not easy to rip out just because a demo looks better.
Some AI native companies will build cleaner workflows, lower friction products, and entirely new ways of coordinating business work. Incumbents are not safe simply because they're embedded. But enterprise replacement is not only a product problem, it is a trust problem, a procurement problem, an integration problem, a compliance problem, a migration problem, a support problem, and a risk problem. That does not protect every incumbent, but it does mean disruption will be uneven. AI may make some software easier to replace while making other software harder to remove. The winners will not automatically be the old giants or the new AI startups. They will be the products that become necessary in the new workflow, the products whose systems agents need in order to act safely, accurately, and usefully.
So software is not going away, but the easy assumptions are.
The reasons software matters are changing. The seat matters less when agents can do some of the work. The dashboard matters less when users can ask questions directly. The interface matters less when AI can act through it. But truth matters more. Context matters more. Permissions matter more. Workflow depth matters more. Trust matters more. Software is not being erased. It is being tested, and AI will not kill software evenly. It will expose which software was truly necessary.
That's it for the show. Like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and reach out to us anytime at talk@torontotalks.ca. We'll see you next time right here on Toronto Talks, where big ideas come to life.
And curiosity never sleeps.